Stoney Richards this afternoon, right after the great Dr. James Weiner. Because you've had such a long career in country music,
I have.
I was so close to getting out of the building today.
Yeah.
Loretta Lynn was recently sick,
Yes.
and had a stroke, and she's recovering. And I'm a big fan, and you and I both love old country, as in steel guitar country.
Thank you.
How significant was she in country music, and still to this day?
The fact that she accomplished what she did from the 60s through the 70s and remains today as a woman in country music has never been equaled. You know, I mean,
never.
she came out with songs about birth control. She came out with songs about getting into domestic arguments. I mean, these were socially active songs and songs that created social change. People kind of forget about that now. Mm-hmm. She's a very charming woman. She's a very smart woman. And there are great women in country music now. Women have always had a hard time in country music, but she was one of the first who kind of didn't play nice. You know, Patsy Cline, God bless her. She, great music and all. And there are others, Kitty Wells, but Loretta kind of had that feeling of the 60s that was kind of in your face, that this is the song I'm going to write. And she wrote all these songs too, and Dolly too.
Penguins getting ready to play Nashville, and I was joking the other day. I love Nashville because Music City, and I love you because of country music.
Is that the only reason?
No.
Okay.
You're very talented too. But you are. But I said the other day to Jeff Hathaway, I said, should they say in Nashville, Elvis has left the building or Johnny Cash has left the building? Talk about Johnny Cash, another great country legend who I still think is right there with people like Elvis, but because he left rock and roll and went country, he didn't get the same props, but he could have if he would have went maybe a different route, been Elvis Presley.
Wow. How much tape we got in that machine?
Go.
How much digital we have in that machine? True. What you just said is true, but I mean, as far as country music fans, I think as anybody who loves music, Johnny Cash, you talk to any musician and they'll tell you, man, Johnny. And he too, he got in the face of Columbia Records. He got in the face of people in Nashville saying, this is what I want to do. Folsom Prison, they said, you're not going to a prison to
Live
do an
album.
Are you crazy? And he said, I will do this. And when they got the tracks, they came back and they said, what do you want us to do with this? And he said, I'd like you to release it. I mean, he was a rebel. He was a very religious man. He had a hell of a life.
Did June Carter save his life? Did June Carter save his life? Oh,
yeah. And he always said as much. Because he really had problems with drug dependency and all that kind of stuff. And he was I spent some time with him. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. Can I tell you a quick story about
Yeah, go.
He was doing a show with the Gatlin brothers. She's holding that camera, and she's getting a shot.
Nan Cohen, by the
okay.
way.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, is she getting paid for this?
No.
I'm the best videographer here, so.
I got free licorice earlier, but that's okay.
You got free liquid too, is what you got.
No, I didn't.
It's Memorial Day weekend. So we're doing a show at Knott's Berry Farm, California. Gatlin brothers are opening for
Like Larry Gatlin?
Larry Gatlin, the brother,
Great,
Rudy
great.
and the boys. And
all the gold
in California,
right,
and
right.
Johnny Cash is on the bill as well. And so I'm the MC for this thing, and I got to bring Johnny out. And so Johnny had a thing. His management had a thing where if you brought Johnny out, Johnny wanted to meet you. And so I said, I want to. Can we get a little interview? And he had just had surgery. Remember when he had a bad tooth and they had to break his jaw, and then they had to break. He broke his jaw, and then they had to break it again because it didn't set right. So he was in a lot of pain, and he said, all right. So I went and I did the interview with him, which was like about 3 minutes, the new song and what's going on and all that stuff. And he was just a mountain of a man. And I was like, oh my God, this is Johnny Cash.
What a performer.
We cut the microphone, and he said, that was pretty good. He said, you going to have dinner with us? And I said, yeah. And so we're backstage. They had the meeting table, carnival table as I call them, with a red tablecloth. And I sat next to June and Johnny. Wow. And June was, and so I'm eating and listening. Everybody's sitting at the table, and Johnny comes in a little bit late, and they don't eat until Johnny sits down, and he sits at the head of the table. So I'm kind of like in the corner here like this. And he says, well, you going to eat, son, or what? And I wasn't the son. I wasn't a kid anymore. And I said, well, yes, sir. And we had chicken and, mashed potatoes and stuff. And I had one helping, but I'm listening to all the stories they're talking about. We're going to drop that song from the set, and I never liked the way you play your banjo on that, and all the kind of stuff that they did. So June says, "You gonna have any more to eat, Stoney?" I said, "Well, no, I'm fine." And she said, "You eat like birds." And I'm sitting like between Johnny and June, and he's
Back
just
and
like,
forth.
"Yeah." But it was just one of these things where you're doing your job,
Right.
and you do what you have to do, and then you kind of come home, or years later you go, sit at the table with Johnny Cash, and he was just the sweetest guy in the world.
You know, you think about it in closing, you had Charlie Rich, Conway Twitty,
Oh.
Jerry Lee Lewis,
Yep.
Elvis, and Johnny. Sam Phillips, Sun Records. Pretty impressive.
And I'll tell you what, all the more reason for the Penguin fans to hear Elvis has just left the building.
What are you doing on your program today?
Well, we're talking about music, talking about the Beatles, this reissue of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts
Yep.
Club Band, and how music is changing quick. You know this from radio stations, top 40 radio stations used to take the songs and speed them up. So you could play, in the course of an hour, one more song. And I think they're still doing it now, but I'm listening to music radio now, and I'm hearing these songs. They've sped them up so much that they're almost off key. Like if it's in G, it's almost an F flat, or and I'm like, what am I hearing? And it's the technology of that, and that's why I think this Beatle thing, and people are going to start buying more vinyl records because you hear the real mix of the artists, which is what we want to hear, and all kinds of stuff
I'm
too.
not worthy, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Here he is, coming up right after Dr. James Weiner on News Radio 1020 KDK.